The Old Testament is a foundational text for both Christianity and Judaism, containing a wide range of literature, including history, law, poetry, and prophecy. It is traditionally divided into four main sections: the Torah, Pentateuch, historical books, wisdom books, and prophetic books. 1. Torah, Pentateuch. Genesis covers the creation of the world, the stories of Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, and the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. It explains the origins of the Israelite people. Exodus tells the story of the Israelites' slavery in Egypt and their liberation under the leadership of Moses. It also includes the giving of the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai. Leviticus contains laws and regulations regarding worship, sacrifice, cleanliness, and holiness, directed primarily at the priests and the Israelites. Numbers describes the Israelites' journey through the wilderness and the challenges they face before entering the Promised Land. Deuteronomy, a series of speeches by Moses, reiterating the law for the new generation of Israelites as they prepare to enter the Promised Land. 2. Historical books. Joshua details the Israelites' conquest of Canaan under Joshua's leadership. Judges covers the time between Joshua and the establishment of the monarchy, when Israel was ruled by a series of judges. Ruth tells the story of Ruth, a Moabite woman who becomes an ancestor of King David through her loyalty and faithfulness. 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel focus on the lives of Samuel, the prophet Saul, the first king of Israel, and David, who succeeds Saul as king. 1 Kings and 2 Kings describe the reigns of Solomon, the division of the kingdom into Israel and Judah, and the eventual downfall and exile of both kingdoms. 1 Chronicles and 2 Chronicles, a retelling of the history found in Samuel and Kings, with a focus on David's line and the temple. Ezra chronicles the return of the Israelites from Babylonian exile and the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. Nehemiah focuses on the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls and the re-establishment of the community under Nehemiah's leadership. Esther, the story of Queen Esther, who saves the Jewish people from a plot to annihilate them in the Persian Empire. 3. Wisdom books. Job explores the nature of suffering and faith through the story of Job, a righteous man who endures great suffering. Psalms, a collection of hymns, prayers, and poems attributed primarily to King David, expressing a wide range of human emotions in relation to God. Proverbs, a compilation of wise sayings and teachings, largely attributed to Solomon, offering practical advice for living a righteous life. Ecclesiastes reflects on the meaning of life, the vanity of worldly pursuits, and the importance of fearing God. Song of Solomon, a poetic dialogue celebrating love and affection, often interpreted allegorically as representing the relationship between God and his people. 4. Prophetic books. Isaiah contains prophecies of judgment and salvation, emphasizing the coming of the Messiah and God's ultimate plan for his people. Jeremiah warns of the impending destruction of Jerusalem and the Babylonian exile, while also offering hope for restoration. Lamentations, a series of poetic laments mourning the fall of Jerusalem. Ezekiel contains visions of the future restoration of Israel and a new temple, as well as prophecies of judgment against Israel and the nations. Daniel narrates stories of Daniel and his friends in Babylon, as well as apocalyptic visions concerning the future. Hosea uses the metaphor of a troubled marriage to illustrate Israel's unfaithfulness to God and his enduring love. Joel prophesies about the day of the Lord and calls for repentance. Amos condemns social injustice and predicts the fall of Israel. Obadiah, a short book pronouncing judgment against the nation of Edom. Jonah tells the story of the prophet Jonah, who reluctantly preaches repentance to the city of Nineveh. Micah speaks out against the sins of Israel and Judah and foretells the coming of a ruler from Bethlehem. Nahum prophesies the fall of Nineveh, the capital of Assyria. Habakkuk dialogues with God about the problem of evil and the suffering of the righteous. Zephaniah warns of the coming day of the Lord and promises future restoration. Haggai urges the Israelites to rebuild the temple after the exile. Zechariah contains visions and prophecies about the restoration of Jerusalem and the coming Messiah. Malachi, the final book of the Old Testament, which addresses the spiritual apathy of the Israelites and foretells the coming of Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. The Old Testament outlines the covenant relationship between God and Israel, offering a foundation for understanding law, history, worship, prophecy, and the anticipation of the coming Messiah.